of the Miller Avalos children, file 23163. All right, we're on record for review in this file. May I have the names of our participants, please?
Lee Heist, lawyer, guardian ad litem for the all 4 children.
Ms. Tasha Thomas, counsel for the department. Ms. Copus. Eva Copus, child welfare specialist with MDHHS.
Nicole Underwood on behalf of
Michael Brooks, I represent Father Joe Miller. Joe?
Oh, I can see you trying to contribute, but we couldn't hear your response.
I'm here.
Okay, thank you.
Katerina Dumont, CAA for the minor child.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Ariel Berger here on behalf of Mother Stephanie Varga Avalos.
Thank you. It should also be noted for the record that we have a permanency planning hearing set for today and a pending pretrial also in the divorce case, it looks like, to follow today's proceedings. It certainly affects permanency as well. All right. I look forward to your report, Ms. Heiss.
Thank you, Your Honor. I have not visited with the children before today. We did other work in this review period, and I want to emphasize the outcome more than the process. The 2 older girls, they want to stay with Mr. Avalos. He's raised them, that's their father, and we now have attorneys appointed to advocate just for that. If I don't overthink the case, I think we can get that done in the next 90 days in a guardianship. You possibly could grant a juvenile guardianship, although the DHS has not recommended this placement. So it's a direct placement based on, I think, my request. And I'm not recommending a juvenile guardianship because of the licensing and that kind of stuff. I don't think they can pass. So, but I think we can get done what they want done. So mom has done her services, and what a victory we have here. She's benefited from services, and the older girls, it's gonna take a while before they trust again, and it's not time yet. And the case has been open for a significant amount of time where everybody wants permanence and wants the case closed. The 2 littles love their visits with their mom. I assume that divorce will take care of putting custody with Mr. Guy Avalos and good visitations with the mom. Again, I recommend unsupervised visits for mother. I recommended that last time and it just wasn't time. It wasn't granted. So I think that concludes my report, Your Honor.
Here. Testimony today, Ms. Thomas.
Thank you, Your Honor. I would ask for Ms. Stephanie Varga Avalos to be used for me, please.
Okay, come on to our witness stand.
You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I swear.
If there's a step there.
Good afternoon, Ms. What do you prefer to be called? Stephanie, Ms. Varga Avalos, what do you prefer?
you can call me Stephanie.
Okay, Stephanie. So just briefly, did you have the opportunity to review the case, the court report for today's hearing?
Yeah.
Okay. And were there any areas in the court report that you thought were inaccurate?
No, not really.
Okay. Generally, the court report is really favorable to you. Would you agree?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you agree that you're in compliance with your case service plan?
Yes.
Okay. Currently, has there been any updates to your housing situation?
No, I've been calling for the last 2 weeks, landlords, housing help, everybody to try to find housing, and they just haven't gotten back to me. I do have a job. I'm just waiting for them to give me my orientation date, and then I start. So I signed the paperwork for the onboarding process or whatever. I did all that, so I'm just waiting for orientation date, and stuff like that, and then I start the job, but other than that, I have a job. I have a car now, and I'm just waiting for a house, and like I said, I've been calling for 2 weeks solid, leaving messages, leaving messages, leaving messages, leaving voicemails. Nobody's calling me back.
And for your mental health treatment, are you still on schedule? I know that I just saw you and, well, I just saw you and some Ms. Copeland. So are there any updates to your mental health appointments or anything like that?
So today I went for my, injection. And then, so I got a copy of my updated med list, and that's what I handed Ms. Covis today.
Wonderful, thank you for that update. And do you feel that between the medication management and therapy that you are experiencing some stabilization in your mental health?
Yeah.
You feel that parenting time is going right now?
It's going great. I enjoy having the time that I have with the girls. I miss the older girls a lot. I wish I could see them, but I know they're not ready yet, so I'm just waiting.
Part of the, something the court must consider today is the permanency goal for all 4 of your children. It sounds like maybe the 2 younger ones, there's some space there to discuss that within the custody arrangement as well. But then as relates to your 2 older ones, what would you like to see happen for their permanency?
So the 2 older ones, I know that they really want to stay with Guy, and I am not opposed to that. I would like to see them go with him also. I'd like for them to stay with him and live with him, because he's also been there with me raising them for the last 10 years.
There any, other than housing, is there any other area from your case service plan that you feel like you need more support with?
Not really, just the housing is what's keeping me, what's holding me back.
What does your current parenting time schedule look like?
It's 2 days a week for 2 hours.
And is it supervised?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you, and that's with
Linda.
Ms. Edwards, okay. And have you discussed at all with Ms. Copus or anyone else what you would like, what is expected of you to be able to move forward and obtain more parenting time or move towards unsupervised parenting time?
We've talked about having unsupervised visits, but we haven't talked about exactly what that looks like yet.
And you a note that in the court report, Ms. Copus has also recommended the unsupervised parenting time?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Given the housing instability, what would your proposed location for that unsupervised parenting time be?
Just like it is now, like we go to different spots around Adrian to come see Clinton. We go to the movies, we go bowling, we go to parks, we do things outside or around town or something like that. So it doesn't take having a home to be able to have visitation.
So you, generally speaking, you would just continue parenting time in the public until there's maybe a safer location.
Exactly.
Okay. And if, generally speaking, if the court then, let's say the court says, you know what, the 2 younger children, their permanency can be addressed in a custody order. Do you feel that you're able to co-parent with their father in a healthy manner?
Absolutely.
Have you guys discussed what co-parenting looks like for your family?
Yeah.
Do you think that's an area that professional or therapeutic service could be implemented?
Yeah.
Is there anything else that you'd like to share with the court about your progress or how you're doing?
like I said, I just got a job, so I have the job thing down. I just got a car. And it doesn't take me having unsupervised visits in a home in order to see my kids. I can do them outside of the home, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So, I mean, we do all kinds of stuff outside anyway. We do it throughout the community and everything like that, so we try to do the fun things like that anyway.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Your Honor, I have no further questions of the bond at this time.
Ms. Underwood?
Yes, I just wanted to clarify that you would support a guardianship for your older two children?
Yes.
Okay. And you would facilitate any signatures or documents with respect to the filings for guardianship? Thank you. I don't have any further questions.
Mr. Brooks?
Ma'am, what if any mental diagnoses have been identified for you that you're dealing with?
I was diagnosed with,
Your Honor, I'm sorry to interrupt, but we are on YouTube, and so I would just ask if that information could be left off the record for YouTube's purposes. I believe that it is contained in the court report,
What do you think, Mr. Brooks?
if I'm not mistaken. I could be.
Well, I'm not trying to embarrass the witness, but she is a witness, and I think I have a right to know the answer to that. You want to put us on mute? I don't care. Maybe I can ask it another way.
I think it's in
What-
some of the court reports.
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
I think it's
Yes,
in
that's
some of the court reports.
Does anybody have a page number we can reference for Mr. Brooks?
And I don't see it in this current court report. But I know that this has been an issue in the past where we needed to ensure mental health treatment was being complied with.
Let me ask this question, subject to possible objections. What medications are you taking, ma'am?
I just handed over the list to Ms. Copus. She can let you see it, and then you can look for it.
You just this afternoon handed it over?
Yes, I did. Ms. Copus has it.
Does the court have a copy of that list?
I haven't seen it. I do know we looked at her psychological evaluation as an exhibit last time.
I just gave it to her I just got it this morning.
May I see it? I'm not gonna ask you specifically about it. I just want to see what it says, okay?
Absolutely.
You may or may not have counted this, but I count 11 prescriptions on here. Do you agree or disagree with that?
I agree.
How long have you been on these 11 prescriptions?
For a year.
Unless there's an objection, I'm gonna move for the introduction of this medication log summary.
Any objections?
No, Your Honor. And,
Can someone send me a copy of that so I can see it?
I guess take a photo and screenshot it for me.
Sure.
You're asking me to do computer stuff?
No,
I'm
Is that-
asking this under the,
she's got you covered.
thanks.
Would you submit that to the court, Dave?
I will, Your Honor. I will, Mr. Brooks.
Okay, Ms. Dumont, did you have any objections to that?
No, Your Honor.
Well, I will receive it.
Do we need?
Would you like me to make a copy?
If you could, please, I'd appreciate it. Sure.
How many copies do we need in the courtroom? How about 2?
2 copies.
Thank you.
In your honors, a note, to answer Mr. Brooks' original question for the diagnosis, it was provided at our last court report, page 56 and 57 of 95.
Not on this one, but the one before.
Yep.
I've received a copy of that, Your Honor. I don't have an objection.
Same time, I'll ask a couple of more questions, then I'm done.
Go ahead.
How are you doing on all these medications?
Doing better.
Do you feel you still need them?
Absolutely.
That's all.
All right. Okay, let's go to Ms. Dumont next. Any questions?
Your Honor, I have no questions. I believe Miss Underwood asked everything I would have asked.
Okay, Ms. Berger?
Thank you, Your Honor.
You have copies of Mr. Brooks? Mr.
Stephanie, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Your Honor, I'm going to start a screen
Thank
share.
you.
We have an exhibit we'd like to present today.
Okay, you're gonna have to slow down and speak up. I heard you're gonna start a screen share, but after that, I couldn't understand. I'll try to turn you up in here too.
Yes, we have an exhibit that we would like to present today.
Very well. Do your co-counselors know what you're proposing?
I have notice of it.
I sent it this morning, Your Honor, but at that time I was not aware that the 2 older children had attorneys. So Miss Underwood and Miss Dumont probably do not.
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Brooks?
No,
Ms. Underwood?
Yes, thank you. Miss Stephanie, there are certain things that are required to take care of kids, you would agree?
Yes, ma'am.
One of those things is a household income. Would you agree?
Yes.
So except for foster care payments, what is your understanding of the income in this household where your 4 girls would be?
Guy who does side jobs and, he does like home improvement side jobs for work that way.
Have you, in any of our court reports, seen evidence of that income?
I haven't seen evidence, but I know that he's done it because, he's taken the girls to Toledo to do the work.
Okay. It seems to me that sometimes Guy has weaknesses where you have strengths, like signing up for benefits. Do you agree with me that that's a strength of yours and sometimes Guy doesn't get that done?
Yeah, I agree that I have some strengths and that's what made us a good team.
Okay, and then you intend to team with him if this arrangement could be made?
Yes.
And what about the idea of Mr. Avalos and the children moving their residence to Ohio? Is that something you have addressed in the custody?
No.
Because your answer would be no.
Yeah.
So you're not concerned about the household income if the foster care payments were not coming in?
Repeat that, I'm sorry.
So if the older 2 girls go into guardianship with Mr. Avalos, there may not be any foster care payments into the household. And do you think the household still has enough funds to be successful?
I don't know.
Me either, that's where I'm going with this. Okay, and then you are paying child support, and that's on the younger 2.
No, that's on these 2.
Okay, thank you, I got confused on that part. So in order for, okay, I think that concludes my questions. Thank you, Your Honor.
Any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
Any other questions for this witness before she gets off the stand?
one, are there some kind of tentative plans for either you or Mr. Avalos to move your residence as well as that of my client's 2 girls to Ohio?
No, Nobody said anything about moving my girls to Ohio.
Are you planning on moving to Ohio?
No,
Mr. Avalos?
No, sir.
One witness at a time.
That's all.
Thank you for your testimony. May I return to your seat? Your next witness, Ms. Thomas.
Your Honor, just a couple of questions for Mr. Miller.
Okay, Mr. Joseph Miller, deputy, you give that please.
Please raise your right hand, Mr. Miller. You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
Mr. Miller, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can.
Thank you. Have you had the opportunity to review the court report from today's hearing?
Yes, I have.
And as it relates to your portion, it seems that there is quite a bit of compliance, but then some areas where maybe there's some room to expand compliance. Do you agree with that summarization of your
I'm sorry,
compliance with your specific plan?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that question?
Do you agree with the summarization of your compliance level that's in the court report?
Yes, I agree with the compliance I have made.
Okay. One of the things that is noted in here is, I think maybe your therapist has stated you've stopped attending therapy as of April. Is that still accurate?
Here's the truth. There was a death in my family. So yes, I stopped therapy, not to defy the court. I go to therapy because I choose to help me deal with what's going on.
Okay. So, have you restarted that at all yet?
Not yet.
Okay. Do you intend to at all?
Absolutely, I do.
Okay. I know that there has been a lot of discussion about your therapeutic parenting time and in the past and at family team meetings. What is your understanding of where that stands right now?
The only thing I can speak of is the truth. It's been an absolutely nightmare. I don't know where to begin. I don't. I've done a lot of soul searching regarding. I will continue to love them the rest of my life. I don't know what else I can do or how I can prove. But I will not stand for is somebody lying to me, accusing me of lying, people not doing their jobs, keeping me in the lurk. If I look, it says partial compliance with Mr. Miller report seeking Mrs. Moore for mental health updates regarding his children's welfare and well-being. Partial compliance. Nobody knows more in that courtroom than me what those two have been through from day one until now. Mrs. Varga got on the stand, testified, I walked out. So I asked the courts, when's enough enough? She's embedded that into their little minds from a long time ago until now. I don't know what else you guys want from me. When there was a Zoom meeting with Mrs. Moore and Mrs. Kopis, Mrs. Moore called me a liar. She says, I never called her. And I said, ma'am, would you be interested in seeing my text message? She goes, nope, you must have been calling somebody else. That's word for word. I have begged and pleaded to know their mental capacity of what they're going through with Mrs. Moore. What is it about me that they don't remember? Why they don't want to see me, to help me understand where my two daughters are coming from. All that's been kept from me. It was from day one, it was me. From very start, it was me, wanted therapy for my two daughters for what their mother was doing. 7 years ago, she defied the court order to have therapy along with myself.
Mr. Miller, I'm gonna have to stop your testimony because we have heard your frustrations and the record does reflect that. but today is solely based on any progress or anything that has happened since June 4th when we were last here. And so I appreciate your frustration.
Please let me
But as
speak and I can end this, I can
John, I
end
have
this now.
further questions for this.
I can end this now. I want my two daughters to be happy. If their happiness is not to see me when I have fought for the last 10 years, if they
Hey,
don't want to
Mr.
see
Miller.
that,
Mr.
please.
Miller, we're only here on what's happened in the last report period. So Ms. Thomas has said she doesn't have any more questions for you. Ms. Berger, any questions?
Mr. Miller, are you in agreement with Guy Avalos being the guardian for your children?
Am I in agreement as far as what do you mean? Or what? Yes, he has been taking care of them.
Would you support his continued care?
Apparently, I don't have a choice. I've been pushed out of their lives, and from what I have been experiencing, I'll never have a life with them. So what I'm trying to say is, I want my daughters to be happy. Their mental capacity comes first and foremost. If they want to remain with Guy, there's nothing I can do. I can't force my daughters to come see me. I can't force them to have a relationship with me. What I was trying to do to get them to understand what has happened, because everything's been told to them is a lie. But that will never happen. So if they want to remain, I want them to be happy. They have their two sisters there. I don't want them to be split up. I don't anymore to push to have Zoe to have a relationship with me. I believe at this time cause more harm. That's where therapeutic visitation should have came in a year ago, but it never happened. So if my daughters want me to sign off my parental rights and for Mr. Avalos to adopt him, because apparently that's what is happening here, then I will do that. Because let me explain something. Those two girls have been through hell and back. I can begin to tell you because I don't have all day to tell you. So their happiness comes first and foremost. If they're truly happy with Guy, there's nothing else I can do.
Okay.
Nobody in that court wants me to have a relationship with my two daughters. Nobody. So I can't do this anymore. I spent countless nights not sleeping, wondering how they were, how they're doing over the years. If that's what they want, then okay. There's nothing else I can do.
Okay. I don't have any other questions for you, but some of the other attorneys might, okay?
Okay, Ms. Dumont, any questions?
No, Your Honor, I believe Ms. Berger covered what I was gonna ask.
Mr. Brooks?
You feel you got screwed by your ex-wife and her attitude towards about parenting time with you?
Yes.
Do you think she was assisted in that with the professional people who've been involved in this case?
Yes.
Do you see any chance that you're gonna have a relationship with these girls?
No, no, I don't. I have an explanation, but no, I don't. I don't see this for
Just
happening.
answer my questions.
No,
Alright. And you want Mr. Avalos, if he's willing to take them, to have a guardianship with these kids?
yes,
How about their mother?
no. Mr. Avalos was there at the time, which I commend him for, where they ran to and sought safety from their mother. So he
So the
has
strongest input you've got in this case is mainly that you want these kids, these girls to go with Mr. Avalos and keep them away from their mother.
yes,
And by definition, unfortunately, you,
yep.
nothing further.
Ms. Underwood, any questions?
No, I think the questions I would have asked have already been covered. Thank you.
Ms. Heist,
No questions, thank you.
any redirect?
No, Your Honor.
All right, thank you for your testimony. Any other witnesses you'd like us to hear from?
Briefly, Ms. Copas, with Foundation for the Court.
You swear or affirm to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Thank you. Ms. Kopis, you have drafted the court report that's before us today, is that correct?
Yes.
And are there any updates or modifications that need to be made to it?
There is a modification that needs to be made in the recommendation. It does ask for the placement to no longer be court ordered. However, the home study was denied and we are looking at a new annual reassessment. I don't know the outcome of that. So in order to maintain this placement, it would still need to be court ordered.
And is that on, is the home assessment pending before the department?
My understanding is that the process has been started, clearances have been started. The annual renewal, I believe, and I apologize for not having the direct date, is actually in September because they were placed in August.
And then, as relates to the other recommendations, you are supportive of unsupervised parenting time for Ms. Varga Avalos with the 2 younger children,
I am.
and that Zoe, their parenting time remain in a therapeutic setting.
Therapeutic setting at their discretion, yes.
Okay. And currently during this review period, have they chosen to exercise any parenting time with their mother?
They have not.
And are they continuing to receive any mental health services from a clinician?
They continue to meet with Ms. Moore. They continue, they overall continue to do well with Ms. Moore. Appointments have been kept, they're being consistent. So we are seeing some progress there.
As it relates to the 2 younger children, if the court were to order in the custody matter, some sort of parenting time, I guess what parenting time would need to be ordered through the custody case for the department to feel like that those children are adequately safeguarded?
Mother's made significant progress in her treatment goals. So at this point, the unsupervised would be sufficient. She's done fantastic in her parenting time, despite the homelessness. She's been very creative with coming up with events for the kids, whether it's creating their own water balloon fight in the park or making sure they go to the library because it's raining. She's done a very good job of planning ahead, planning for these events. It's not just the events themselves, making sure that they have the proper food, communicating with dad about the proper clothing because we're going here, but it's a surprise. And so she's done overall really well, and I anticipate that behavior to continue.
Do you have any recommendations about them, the parents co-parenting at all?
We had an FTM in which we discussed family counseling, in which we would observe mom and dad co-parenting a little bit longer. They've done well with it. We just wondered if they, Ms. Moore or Aaron Abbott could.
I object to the reference for the stepfather to be referred to as dad. He is not, which is no reflection personally on him as a person, but it is not accurate.
Your Honor, if I may, I respect that entirely, and this is solely related to the custody matter, which would only involve the 2 younger children, in which Mr. Gallegos is their legal father.
That's true, Mr. Brooks. He does have 2 legal children that are subject to the court's jurisdiction as well. He shares with Ms. Avalos. So I can sustain your objection as it relates to the children that are not his, but I must overrule it as far as the ones that are his.
That's fine.
Very good. Thank you.
Okay. Do you think that the parents need continued oversight as relates to 2 younger children in this NA case to do that service?
I don't know if they would fully need oversight. They've done a fairly good job, and I've seen a lot of strength and a lot of change in them since the onset of the case. And so I think they could function moving forward without us.
And it sounds like part of the necessity of keeping the case open is just to ensure that Ms. Varga Avalos, her parenting time as it transitions to unsupervised and grows would continue to be safe and appropriate, and just a demonstration of stability. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay. And other than that, as relates to Zoe, I'm sorry for saying their names out loud. The recommendation is for guardianship. Is that still your recommendation at this time?
It is.
Is there anything you'd like to highlight from your court report or bring to the court's attention from your knowledge of the case?
I would like to emphasize on the parents co-parenting. I apologize, Mr. Avalos's and Ms. Varga Avalos's parenting. You know, on the onset of this case, we had, you know, talking about the department involved, we had a lot of miscommunication. And so overall have seen a level of maturity and growth. I mean, there's still times when they're still struggling, but they come to us with that and they talk about things and they work it through. And that's a behavior we didn't see at the onset of this case.
Thank you. With that, Your Honor, I would move to admit the court report and the attachments, which I believe are the case service plans at this time.
Objections?
No.
No objection.
No
No
objection.
objection. No objection.
Thank you. They're received. Cross-examination, Ms. Dumont?
Ms. Copas, I've been adamant with you with regards to what she wants to see with regards to parenting time.
Yes.
Okay, and what is her wishes with regards to that?
So consistently since for this reporting period, she has not wanted to visit. She did at the onset of this case explore visitation with both parents. She did try her best to forge those bonds and relationships. Unfortunately, it did not work out, and at this point, she is declining all visitation.
And do you agree with that, that she should have the ability to decide?
I do. She, despite not wanting to be in therapy, despite not wanting to be part of this process, she has worked through therapy and she has come to this decision on her own.
Okay, thank you. I have no further questions.
Ms. Berger?
No questions, Your Honor.
Mr. Brooks?
You reference, and I quote, both parents. Did you identify who you identify as parents for that this testimony? Names.
Thank you. I am referring to Ms. Varga Avalos. I'm sorry, in terms of the parenting for visitation is Ms. Varga Avalos and Mr. Miller. That's who I'm referring
Mr.
to.
Who?
Mr. Miller for parenting.
All right. Now, you've testified here today about the hopes you have for quote unquote co-parenting with, and I'm only interested in the two older girls. You understand that, right?
Yes.
About the advantages and your hopes for co-parenting in the future between, I assume, Mr. Avalos and is it his wife, ex-wife? What is their status?
Currently, they are still married.
All right, thank you. And the two girls. That's what you're talking about, right?
The two younger girls, yes.
And Mr. Avalos?
Right.
About 6 months ago, you were on the stand. I was cross-examining you rather vigorously, as I recall, trying to get you to acknowledge that it is important that these girls, or girls in general, children in general, have a relationship with their father. I could not get you to agree with that statement. Is that still your position?
Are you asking, do I think that the older two children need to have a relationship with their father?
That it's important that they have one with their father, bio father.
I don't think that relationship would be in their best interest.
Nothing further.
Questions, Ms. Underwood?
Yes, has minor child Z expressed her wishes with where she would like to live moving forward?
She has.
Can you clarify what those are?
I should also clarify, I've had multiple conversations with her, so this is not our first conversation, and she's been consistent throughout. They have not been easy conversations. I know that I have upset the girls. There have been lots of tears over this, and so she continues to want to be where she's placed. Each time we talk about it, her argument becomes stronger. It's clear that she's discussed this with either a trusted adult or a therapist because she is able to defend her position more each time. And so at this point, she does wish to remain with Mr. Avalos. She does view him as her father figure. He provides for her safety and comfort, and that when we're having conversations and we refer to dad, that's who she's referring to. So she is 16, this is where she wants to be. We are in support of that.
And can you clarify for the court as well, what ZM's wishes are as far as parenting time with her mother and biological father?
With mother, she does not want to see mother at this time. That's just been her position all along. She's not ready for it. In regards to Mr. Miller, she has actually requested that his rights be terminated. She does not actually want any contact or relationship with him of any means. There were a point where he had requested that we share photos with the girls from early childhood. That was not, she was not open to having any of that kind of relationship.
And do you believe that remaining placed with Guy is in her best interest?
I do.
Thank you. No further questions.
Ms. Nice.
The placement where the girls want to be is with Guy Avalos. Have you had any income verification into the household?
I did not have any direct verification myself. I do believe it may have been given to Mr. Kowicki, the fact worker. Had not gotten that documentation from Tyler. But I have seen changes in the household. My conversations with Mr. Avalos, there's less conversations about struggles for food, or the bills appear to be being met, and those needs appear to be being met.
And that is true since foster payments are coming into the household for the older two children, correct?
They are, yes.
Before those foster payments, there were struggles.
There were.
Electricity, lot rent, those kinds of things.
Yes.
Mom has proved time and time again the items that she is paying for the children before foster payments came in. Is that true?
Yes.
So besides foster care payments, which would not continue in a guardianship, you have no verification of income. Is that correct?
I do not at this point, no.
And at one point, maybe several review periods ago, you had found some relatives who were supporting the household. Is that correct?
There is one relative still supporting the household. It is not one of the concrete bills that we would look at, which would be the, gas and electric, housing itself, and the food. It's paying for like an internet bill.
Okay, and transportation is a challenge in this household. Is that correct?
Transportation has been a challenge. I have to give Mr. Avalos his credit here. He did a really well in this last reporting period of communicating, of taking over the transportation, of ensuring the girls made appointments. And then if there was an incident where one was missed, and he was right on rescheduling that and got them right back into services. And so saw a lot of good problem solving skills over this last quarter.
Including KM's coach does some of the transporting when needed.
Yes, when she was in school and other school activities. I've also had recent contact with him, although he is willing to provide additional support to the family as needed.
So in this idea of a guardianship or co-parenting, depending on which girls we're talking about, Ms. Avalos has had a lot of domestic violence training and recovery and therapy, correct?
Yes.
Has Mr. Avalos?
We do not have any direct documentation of him doing any domestic violence treatment. He has reported, based on previous charges, that he was made to comply with domestic violence treatment from there. We also have no incidences of domestic violence in any partner relationship since the onset of this case.
Is Mr. Avalos continue to be on probation or parole?
He is still on probation. My understanding that he is at fines and fees at this point.
Thank you. We had a family team meeting in early August where Mr. Miller participated. Is that correct?
Yes.
And let's see. Have you noticed a weakness in the Mr. Avalos's home where services are discontinued because there's administrative jobs that need to be done that don't get done?
Mm-hmm.
Applying for food, applying for benefits, applying for electricity coverage, those kinds of things?
Mr. Avalos understands how to seek those services. He appears to be of the mindset now that he wants to do this on his own. He is wanting to prove that he can do what the girls believe him to be able to do and that he wants to move forward without the assistance. But he does understand how to apply for them should they need it.
Okay, and, but he still doesn't have a driver's license. Is he able to apply for that?
To my understanding, there's substantial fees attached to that right now and that it's not feasible at this time.
Does he have a car, insured and registered car?
No.
Okay, nothing further.
Direct.
Briefly, are the older girls, have they participated in any MYOI services?
So they just completed the applications and I just got the W-9s back. We were all confused on the W-9s. So it took a minute to get those back. But we were able to clarify that. Actually, Mr. Avalos clarified that and got those to me. So they are registered in MYOI. Well, we did secure YAT funds to pay for ZM's driver's training, which she is actively participating in now. Dad does have a plan, and I apologize, Mr. Avalos does have a plan for when she needs a secure driver for road test and things of that nature and practicing. Otherwise, we have not utilized any YAT funds at this point other than that for them.
Thank you for that update. I have no further questions.
What do you think the permanency planning goal should be?
There's been a lot of barriers to that. And I do think that a guardianship is in their best interest. I think it suits everyone. I think it allows the door to be open for relationships if they need him in the future with mom or with Mr. Miller at some point. I do think that Mr. Avalos can navigate those situations. I think he has the right supports. I think we put enough work into him that this family, I think they've reached their goals.
Any questions based on my question?
No,
No, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor, thank you.
Just briefly, but juvenile guardianship, which would be a funded entity, do you recommend that for the older two girls?
At this point, we cannot recommend that. In order to get a JG or a juvenile code guardianship to be subsidized, the foster parent or the caregiver would have to be licensed through Title 4E. I can say that as of right now, Mr. Avalos' home is not licensable, and that would create a barrier. It would also prolong this process because even if we were to license him, say tomorrow, they have to be placed with him for 6 months prior to us even applying for that subsidy. So I don't know if that's in their best interest.
Thank you, nothing further.
Okay, so that's an interesting twist. Thank you for that question, Ms. Heiss. So what about adoption for the two older Miller girls?
I would be worried that it would be a similar process as the juvenile code guardianship, and I would be worried that subsidy could deny that.
So either way, it's going to be difficult to qualify for subsidy.
Yes.
So what you're actually suggesting is for someone to go and file a probate court guardianship.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you for the clarification.
Another option would be to help them be independent. Are they in the pipe for independence? APLA?
APLA would definitely be a goal. I think it would be a little bit harder for Chloe given her age. I apologize for KM because she's only 14, and so that we'd be involved for quite some time. I have talked to the girls about independent living. I still think we've run into it's still going to be Mr. Avalos as the possible placement. When I talk to them about independent living and who could potentially be that placement, they want their providers to still be Mr. Avalos.
And they want the agency and all of us out of their personal life, is that right?
They would like us out of their business, yes.
Okay, nothing further, thank you.
Questions based on my questions? No, Your Honor.
no, Your Honor.
No, Your Honor.
Thank you for your testimony. You may return to your seats. Anyone else who'd like us to hear from? No, Your Honor. Ms. Dumont, any witnesses today?
No, Your Honor. I do have a court report though on the minor child KM if you'd like to hear that.
Are you, I think you're appointed to represent her in your capacity as an attorney, so I'll be happy to afford you closing argument, but.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you. Ms. Berger, anyone you'd like us to hear from today?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Brooks?
No, thank you.
Ms. Underwood? Ms. Hess?
No, thank you.
Closing comments, Ms. Thomas?
Thank you, Your Honor. I'll start with the two older girls. I think that Ms. Copas had really summarized the position well, that guardianship for them may be the most appropriate at this time through an epic full guardianship. That is something, if it's a permanency goal, that is something that my office can assist the department in filling out that documentation. I don't know that it would be appropriate necessarily at this point in time for limited guardianship. But we hear Mr. Miller, and we hear Ms. Varga-Avalos, we hear the girls saying, this is where they're the happiest, then let's keep them there. And I think that generally the department supports that, even though we can't necessarily support the placement. What is the word I'm looking formally? Because of licensing and policy requirements, it seems that it is in their best interest. As relates to the two younger girls, I think that the custody case will help us resolve that matter, but I think at this point in time, they are with a parent, and it seems that Ms. Avalos or Myra Avalos is also doing very well in her parenting time. So we would just continue the permanency goal for reunification for them. And then also ask the court to allow the department the discretion for unsupervised parenting time as she continues to progress in that area. Otherwise, I think a 90-day review will be sufficient. You know that the parents of the two younger children, Mr. Avalos and Ms. Varga-Avalos, have perhaps the opportunity to participate in some co-parenting or family therapy to demonstrate their ability to work together for their children. And I think that that's a great tool for them, and it's great to hear the progress that's been made in this review period. Thank you.
Any comments, Ms. Underwood?
I believe that the testimony from Ms. Copas is accurate after speaking with my client with respect to what her wishes are. My client is asking to stay with Mr. Avalos. She would like the rights of her biological father terminated, as she does see Mr. Avalos as her father. But at this point, I think the most important thing is that she be allowed to remain in his care and custody, and for a guardianship to be authorized in this file, whether it's through the juvenile code or through a limited or a full guardianship. Sounds like the parents testify that they would both be in support of it, so limited guardianship might make sense at this time. But again, I would defer to the court's discretion on which avenue we take with respect to allowing ZM to remain with Mr. Avalos. Thank you.
Mr. Brooks?
Those of us who have had the benefit of a legal education all take pride in the fact that what we are a part of is the pursuit of justice in conflict situations. There will be no justice for Joe Miller in this case. His ex-wife has inflicted irreparable damage on the relationship between himself and his two girls. He's done it through fraud as adjudicated by the Ohio courts, her intransigence in doing anything she can to interfere outside of the court system, and her obvious hatred she's displayed here today for Joe Miller. It worked. The girls are brainwashed. He's, in street terms, screwed. I may not share his anger, but I certainly share his frustration at the injustice that's been done to him and his family, which includes, whether Mrs. Avalos likes it or not, those two girls. Thank you.
Comments, Ms. Dumont?
Yes, Your Honor. When speaking with the minor child KM, she wants to live with Mr. Avalos, who she refers to as her father. She's currently going into the 9th grade. She has all A's and B's. She's involved in track and wrestling. She does not want to be reunified with her mom due to the trauma that she's endured. She doesn't want therapeutic parenting time or parenting time at all. She also wants the court to know she wants her biological father's rights terminated. And she wants the court to know that she feels safe, loved, and happy where she is and wants to continue to stay there. So I do think that the guardianship is not only in her best interests, but in line with what she wants to be done.
Ms. Berger?
Yes, thank you, Your Honor. I think it's interesting that that Mr. Brooks thinks that my client brainwashed these children when she's had no contact with them for as long as I've been involved in the case, so at least since January, I believe. Or at least she wasn't ordered any contact. So at this time, Judge, we're in agreement. We support guardianship. My client, through her testimony and through the exhibit presented today, is asking the court to do something like this in order for her 2 oldest children to stay with their current caregiver and the person that they see as their father. So that's what we're asking for today. I know that she will be extremely cooperative and will do everything in her power to make sure that she signs all of the appropriate documents and gets that taken care of as quickly as possible. So we are asking just for one more 90-day review and that we coordinate any efforts to get that goal of guardianship taken care of before that actual hearing date. Thank you.
Thank you. The court finds all arrested parties were given notice for purposes of today's review, hearing, and permanency planning hearing. Thank you to Ms. Stephanie Varga-Avalos for the progress that she's made, and for Mr. Miller, some of the limited progress that he's made. We're looking forward to him engaging in his recommended services if he wishes to step into visitation with his daughters or therapeutic reunification. I also hear him acknowledging that he's open to releasing his rights if that's what serves the best interests of his daughters, which is good to hear. The 2 oldest children are certainly old enough to express a preference and have developed
The youngest is 14, Your Honor, so the answer is yes.
they are old enough to express a preference and have
Right.
strongly expressed that through the duration of the case. Mr. Avalos has taken care of the younger 2 daughters as well as the older 2 daughters, and that appears to be a situation that they want to stabilize and cement for all 4 of these minor children moving forward. The goal of reunification for the younger 2 children is certainly appropriate. With their father, the goal for the older 2 children will be guardianship, which is not even really something that is something about probate court guardianship I can't order under the abuse and neglect file. That will be something that department has to continue to explore in the future. I'll also ask you to look at adoption as an option here. Given the circumstances, Mr. Avalos would still clearly have the ability to facilitate whatever relationship he wishes between the girls and their mother, and he appears appropriate and ready to do that. But that would create a situation potentially with some funding that would be a more sustainable option for the girls moving forward in that particular household of choice. And Mr. Miller appears to support that as well. So please look at that moving forward and figure out which option is best for this family in order to stabilize where they have come to at this point. I think that was well said by Ms. Kopus on the stand. We just need to finish or rather finalize legally how that will proceed moving forward. The children will remain in their placement directed by the court with Guy Avalos. That is the safest and least restrictive under the circumstances. Obviously, Ms. Varga Avalos is still looking for housing. Mr. Miller has not established his relationship with his daughters or housing or other resources. We are familiar with his position. So they will remain with Mr. Avalos moving forward for all those reasons and the other reasons that were expressed on record today. Our next Permanency planning hearing and review will take place October 21st at 10 o'clock in the morning. Once again, it's October 21st at 10 a.m. Unless there's any questions,